Okay, hello everyone. Dina Moskowitz here, CEO of Partner Optimizer and host of Ecosystem Chronicles. And I'm on my second interview, my second episode today from the floor of the Partnership Leaders Conference Catalyst in Chicago at the Hyatt Regency. And it's been amazing so far. The buzz is crazy. And I have a guest here who is actually, as of yesterday, the Partnership Leaders Lifetime Achievement Award first recipient. Greg Sarafin. He is also, why did he win that award? Well, he's been the guy who's led the partner ecosystem as Chief Partner Ecosystem Officer for EY for many years, prior to which he was with IBM as well, if I got it right. And under his leadership, EY has seen partnerships blossom to what, $8 billion or so in revenue?
10 billion.
10 billion. So Greg, it's so great to have you here. Thank you for making the time to be on this show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And yesterday on the show floor, you spoke about the future of partnerships in relation to a new term called the Mega PaaS, right? Mega PaaS, platform as a service, right?
Yep.
Why don't you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So, in the professional services industry for 4 decades plus now, we have partnered with technology companies to help customers transform their businesses by adopting technology as part of the process. And so that has sort of created a muscle memory between tech and services that I call the outside-in sales motion. So we will show up at a customer with a partner like a Guidewire that does insurance operations, and we will say, hey, we're here with our partner Guidewire to help you transform your claims processing, your policy administration, et cetera. And we'll go visit 50 customers, and maybe 20 of them will consume our services.
Okay.
And we do that year after year after year, and we don't do that just with Guidewire, we do it with all kinds of other partners like SAP, et cetera. And so that has been a very successful model for a very long time, but there's a change in the industry now, which we call the Mega PaaS economy. And so let me explain that a little bit. So Mega PaaS are these large platform companies. The ones that I think we're the furthest along are like the hyperscalers, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, but there are others also now sort of coming in. Snowflake is getting there. I would say Salesforce with the Force platform is getting there. ServiceNow is certainly trying to get there. There are others where these companies are using the concept of a marketplace to really bring a center of gravity, to bring an ecosystem together to serve all the needs of a client. And they're using the marketplace construct as the mechanism to bring everybody together and incent that model from really being integrated. So let's use a real example. We'll go back to Guidewire. So for 15 years with Guidewire, we didn't care whether a customer was an Azure or an Amazon or a Google or anything else. We were there. We were agnostic. We came there with Guidewire, the SaaS company, to help client adopt technology to change their operations. Now we're starting to have to care.
Right.
Because Guidewire operates on Amazon, and customers have Amazon commits. When they buy Guidewire, they don't want to buy it from Guidewire. They want to buy it on the Amazon marketplace as a private offer.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because if they do, they get drawdown against their commit, right? This is a really powerful thing that these companies are doing with these marketplaces, is they're creating this incentive for clients to adopt technologies that run on their platform.
Right.
And they are now forcing SaaS companies to make decisions about what platforms are they going to run on. Are they going to run on multiples, which will increase their cost, or are they going to focus on one, which will increase their positioning, but will not give them the same surface area to the market? So let's come back to us and how we think about partnering and selling. Now, when we go to a client, the first question is, where have you made platform commits? Are you committed to Azure, Amazon, Google, ServiceNow? Where are you committed? And then we say, all right, well, if you're committed to Amazon and your insurance, great. We've got a set of things that we do for you. Guidewire is part of that. There's a whole ecosystem of other SaaS providers, perhaps, around that.
Stack,
right? There's a whole stack. Mm-hmm. That's what we call it, actually, a stack. Right. And we say, so we have a stack that includes Guidewire. for customers that are invested in Amazon as their mega PaaS selection. But then if we show up at a Microsoft customer, well, Guidewire doesn't run on Microsoft, at least you can't buy it in the marketplace. So now maybe it's a competitor to Guidewire that we're going to have to work with, because the companies are going to say, hey, listen, there's this other technology out here. For me, I am simplifying my tech stack by consolidating workloads onto a handful of PaaS, mega PaaS providers that I've selected, but I need to use those mega PaaS providers to get the return on investment that I'm making in them. Right? So I'm driving down my TCO by consolidating onto these mega PaaS platforms, but these marketplaces are now forcing me to make choices about who I partner with and who I consume from a software perspective. So now what will have to happen for us, instead of outside in motion, we're going to have to perfect what I call the inside out motion, which is we sit down with the CIO and the line of business leaders to say, okay, you guys are doing a consolidation onto these handful of platforms. So our job is now to help you figure out what those platforms are, to help you figure out what patterns or workloads you're going to want on what platforms. And then for each area of your business, we're going to have to curate a little ecosystem of SaaS providers that run on that platform to solve those business problems. So now we're going on the inside of the company out to the SaaS providers versus what we used to do, SaaS providers coming into the company. So that's what we mean by inside out.
Well, it's interesting because you've got the pressures of selecting a hyperscaler, right? Because if you're working with a customer that already has a commitment to a certain hyperscaler, then they're going to be leaning towards a certain stack. But then you as a system integrator have to be somewhat neutral, right? Because your different customers might be committed to different.
We have to serve all our customers.
Right.
So that's why for us, we're going to have a stack for customers that want to run their workloads in Amazon versus a stack for those that want to run them in Microsoft versus Google versus some others like Force and ServiceNow and so forth, right? So we're going to have to come with a perspective on how you transform supply chain, how you transform tax, how you transform finance, right? And that will be different depending on which PaaS platform the customer is betting on to help them from an IT perspective take down TCO and improve value delivery. So it's a very different approach to the market for us. Now, it doesn't mean we're not going to do outside in. We'll continue to do both, right, for some period of time. But increasingly, this inside out motion is going to become critical because that's where clients are going to expect you to help them create value.
Right.
Orchestrate around the mega platforms that I've selected versus coming in with the SaaS providers and ignoring the fact that those SaaS providers may not actually be on strategy for where I'm investing in platform.
Exactly. And so what do you have for advice for those SaaS platforms, for those partner leaders in those SaaS platforms who now have to figure out, which partners to align with, but which hyperscalers and which mega PaaS they have to align with? What do they do?
So I think the first thing you have to do is, look, am I going to go across all of the mega PaaS or am I going to go deep in one? I think that's the first order decision that you have to make. Each has a trade-off, right? If you go deep on one, you get the advantage of being deep in their ecosystem, deep in their PaaS stack, so you can deliver more value on that stack. If you go across multiples, either your cost goes through the roof or you containerize, in which case you don't take advantage of PaaS and you're less important to them, right? And so it's a catch-22, right? So what is your strategy going to be there? Then once you've made that decision, then you need to say, okay, I'm going to hit these sectors, these use cases, and what I need to start to do is I start to need to find the other SaaS providers that fill in the other spaces that I don't fill in, create a natural synergy there, and also work with the systems integrators, particularly the GSIs, to get them to put them in their opinionated stacks, right? So it's no longer coming to the GSI and saying, hey, we want to go on a sales motion with you to sell to 50 clients. It's no, we want to be part of your ecosystem for insurance, business transformation, or for tax transformation in banking, or whatever it is. We want to be part of that solution stack. And then every time you're doing a drawdown or an inside out sales motion, we're going to come along for that ride. Very different model.
Very different. So now let's say you have a product that is in a competitive sector like SOC 2 compliance, right? Security compliance and monitoring. And there are 20 or 50 other companies that compete that all offer a similar type of service. Now, are you going to get shut out of the mega PaaS? Like, is there an opportunity right now to get in with specific mega PaaSes to make sure that you have a competitive advantage? And if not, what do you do?
Well, I think that is the decision you need to make as a CEO and a management team is, first of all, do we believe that this concept that we're talking about here is going to be the direction of travel? And if it is, probably you want to get there first. Right? You probably want to make your bets now because, again, if you're a customer and you've made a large commit to any one of these platforms, you're going to want the drawdown. And so if it's a choice between a company where you can get the drawdown and a company where you cannot, what are you going to choose? As long as the feature functions are largely equivalent, you're going to choose the company that's you can get the drawdown and is also integrated into that PaaS ecosystem. So yes, I think if you're a SaaS provider today, you really need to be thinking about this. And the same for a services company. Are you going to start to go into these inside-out selling motions versus continuing to do almost exclusively the outside in? So we all have a decision to make.
Yeah, is it demand pull, or
right.
Are you pushing product out? It's very,
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and again, like anything, there's no, if I could predict the future, I wouldn't be here with you. I'd be on an island somewhere, as they say, right?
Exactly.
But we're pretty good at guessing the future and at least, taking a direction of travel. And that is where we are betting right now.
Got it. So one final question on that. This strategy seems to make more sense for me when I'm thinking around enterprise, right? But what does that mean to small and medium business? Well, SaaS that focus on small and medium businesses, where it may not be as big a spend or as big a mega PaaS.
Yeah, now, Chris, you're seeing my bias. We work in my company, we're a big company, and we work with a lot of other big companies. Right. But we also work with a lot of small companies. That's less known about us. Okay. I think in the small company world, there's a couple things that'll be true. Number one, the small companies typically won't make commits the same way that big companies do to these PaaS platforms. So the PaaS economy will be a little less impactful to them than it is to the big companies. So the SaaS will have more balance of power versus PaaS in the lower end of the market. But I also think in the lower end of the market, you're going to see more what I'll call managed services types of providers that say, listen, you're a small company. You shouldn't be doing your own HR. You shouldn't be doing your own risk management. You shouldn't be doing your own tax. You shouldn't be. All these corporate functions, you don't need to do them. You should be just outsourcing as a service. And then those service providers will be quite large, and they will be making a bet on PaaS, right? So even in that model, you're still going to have some PaaS influence, but it'll be an indirect influence as more and more of these types of services are being consumed.
Yes. And you certainly want to be aware of this whole change in how things are going. So great. We've got to wrap it up, but Greg, tell me one more thing. Are you getting a lot out of partnership leaders today? How's it been for you?
Yeah, look, I said it on stage yesterday. I think what Partnership Leaders has done the last few years is it's created a community that was absolutely necessary at this time because, as we all know, businesses require more partnering and less building and buying to be competitive. It's that simple. And so if you need to really major in partnering, you need to have a very good partnering function. The problem, as we all know, is the partnering function has been very diffused. It hasn't been, supported, right? If you're a CFO, there's a career path to be a CFO, and there's a community if you're a CFO. That didn't exist really until Asher Matthew and the team created Partnership Leaders, and it's been incredible to see how this community's come together, and we're starting to share and create best practices, define career paths. I think it's a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for being on the program.
My pleasure.
To have you again soon, and we can talk about the progress of the whole mega PaaS economy.
Okay.
We'll track
Looking forward to it.
All right.
Terrific.
Thank you so much.
You.
Cool. All right, everyone. We'll see you soon. I have another episode coming up and another 6 today.